I'm really good, you?
Yeah, it's an honour to be on the first one as well.
Oh, thanks. And you know, like I've been on to you for a little while about this, and then we spoke about doing something, and I thought, well, who else to have on other than yourself?
On to me ain't the two words, I'm telling you. Stalking category.
Stalking, yeah, stalking, driving you mad. I know I do that, so apologies, mate.
That's
but
right.
yeah, you know, I kind of want to get into some. We've got some hard hitting questions I want to ask you. So I guess for me, the first thing I think everyone wants to know is: do you dye your hair, or is it naturally that colour?
Do you know what funny time is? I did dye my hair for a little while brown.
I remember.
And everyone used to rip me. And my partner, Amanda, she's a hairdresser, so she was trying out her new techniques on me. So every month I'd be a different shade of brown, green.
It's like mahogany, aren't you? I remember.
Mahogany, horrible colours. But no, this is natural now.
But people always say, do you dye your hair? So who dyes their hair grey? Who does that? But yeah, I get that.
It's fashionable now.
Yeah, I know, they love it,
you
don't
know.
they?
Yeah,
I know, mate, we're trendsetters, aren't we?
Yeah, you know that, bro.
But in all seriousness, I kind of want to, you know, I want to reload and go back to the start. Like, you know, just tell us a little bit. Who is Alex? Where did you grow up? You know, how did it all start for you? And you know, we're going to try and move along and try and make some sort of order of today. But yeah, how did it start for you?
Well, life started in the East End of London. I grew up in Leytonstone, Newport Road, which I've got a lot of fond memories of. It's a bit of a wild upbringing. And luckily my dad built a company up and he made a few quid, and we went from kind of like an urban decay, as that part of East End of London was back in those days, to Rural Haven, to Hertfordshire. So someone had only seen like 2 or 3 plots of green dotted about a concrete jungle. It was just amazing to see trees, hills and everything when we moved up there. So that was good for me. You know, it got me out of what could have possibly been a bad place to grow up into a really good place. So I had good schooling, good friends, and a really great life. And the DJing, believe it or not, started at my school. And I was the boring one in the corner, which would have been written down as a fat bloke in the corner, spinning all the tracks. Like, you know, this is going to show my age. I remember one was, everybody was kung fu fighting.
As fast as lightning.
Yeah, that's it, you know it. So all them ones in Shawadi Wadi and all that, and it just fascinated me. You know, flowing music. I used to make like cassettes as well on I'd accept machine at home and try and do it without any gaps. This is way before the concept of mixing came. I just used to listen to like the top 100 and get my favourites and just put them in the thing.
You had to pause them before the talking come on the radio.
Or sometimes spin it back a little bit.
You have to turn it over, fast forward it to rewind it as well.
That's it. Yeah, so that was kind of my real introduction. And also in the village that I grew up in, Codicott, when we moved to Hertfordshire, there was a guy there called Don, and he was a local DJ, Don's Disco. And we used to sort of like knock about him, wash his car and all this kind of stuff. And he used to give us a few quid. And we used to set him and set up his DJ set on when he went out. So and when he fancied a fag and a pint of lager, or go and chat up a bird or something, he used to give us a nod and say, put a couple on for us.
So what decks did you start on? Like, how did that start? Like, was that even pitch control? How did it work?
No, they were I think they were Fidelity decks or something back in the day. I don't remember the name. They're belt driven.
Belt drive, yeah.
Yeah, and so it was a bit of a juggle trying to get it to start quick enough sometimes.
But for anyone who don't know belt drives, the techniques, obviously they lock in quite well with a belt drive. You push them and they spin around really quickly, don't they? Because they're different from direct drive, so it's a different kettle of fish, isn't it? Yeah,
it takes a little bit of time to pick up to speed. It's obviously belt driven, so it's a belt, it's a rubber band, basically. Whereas when they come up with a concept for Technics, it was direct drive and motor actually underneath the unit.
So what year was that, and how old was you, and how did that all start? Like,
I'm giving away my age now. Well, it's probably about 1993.
Yeah.
No, of course you weren't. We're talking 70s now.
Wow.
Yeah, man. I started skateboarding then as well, back in the 70s. Like I said, I grew up in a really nice place. And
is that near Welling? Is that Welling? Because you've always been around Welling way, haven't you?
Yeah, well, other than the East End of London, until I was like 10.
Yeah.
And then, moved to Hertfordshire, which is,
So when did it step up from just helping the local DJ to getting your own system, going out and doing gigs, and then doing? I guess it was like most DJs starting like warm up sets. So how did that driving people mad? Let me play warm up. How did that all start?
Well, there was a massive gap in between then, obviously, and I was doing all other things that teenagers do. But a big part of it for me is quite bizarre. I loved collecting records. Always have collected records, and I like both sides of the coin. I used to go to the gigs like for the Damned, the Strangler and the punk and all that kind of stuff. But I love my soul, my funk and my dancing side. So I was in the middle of both, and I really enjoyed both style of music. So I grew up, I was collecting lots and lots of music. I done a couple of parties in Hertfordshire area, run into a guy called Denzel, used to do the door.
Oh, I worked for Denzel,
Legends.
yeah, I worked for him, nice guy.
And he was at one of the parties, and he kind of like got me my first step into Legends nightclub. And I also got out a lot to Colin Hudd as well, because before I sort of like took the big jump into going on my own, I used to go around with Colin Hudd and carry his records around, and that gave me the introduction to Oki, Trevor Fung, all those guys as well. And also in that time, I was really into going clubbing, and it was a different world clubbing then. It was nothing like you know it now. All the clubs made in the West End used to shut at 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock if you was lucky, and they were hard to get into. There weren't a lot of them around, you know, there weren't like all these raves and clubs popping up here and everywhere. There was kind of like a select few in the West End, and if I take a little step back, this is going to, a few people, I used to break dance as well, and I was actually quite famous for break dancing. We won a competition called the Fame Game, and that was the equivalent of Britain's Got Talent now. So there was me, my friend Troy, my brother, and another guy. We toured Europe, we toured England, we toured everywhere breakdancing. So at that point as well, I was mixing with scratching DJs and electro DJs from back in the day. So I had a good idea of, you know, what was required, but solely mixing two tunes together was a new kind of thing that come in, I don't know, at the end of disco music.
That's crazy. We're going to get you to do a bit of breakdancing at the end, so hopefully you're back will be all right. And but even just about them days were like Denzel was brutal on the door, wasn't he? And he was different, you know, you had to be smart, and it was just, I know he sounded a bit old, but it was a different era. Yeah. But yeah, I didn't know that about the breakdancing. Yeah, the
breakdancing is, if a few people have pulled me up when I've been sent pictures and that. We done really well, you know, like I say, we toured Europe, a lot of different bands, we always around the UK. Yeah, we were decent at it. We had some good battles, made some good friends for it as well.
So you're always destined, I think, to be in that. And you say that about friends. I think the friends I've made, you make friends for life, don't you? I think in this industry,
yeah, 100%.
You know, there's a lot of shady people. You make friends and you end up in places and you see people that and like, it's quite a small industry as well. So it's kind of always the same people, I think, as well. Always you see them, you know, bounce a club 10 years, you ain't seen them for 10 years, and they're still doing the same thing you're doing, but you just kind of gone in different directions.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially, you know, with you. Yeah, totally, you know, obviously you've been around so much, you meet so many people, you must forget.
Well, we've gone full circle again now. The guy who used to do the breakdancing with Troy Harewood, he's actually putting together the British version of a hip hop museum. So it's going to be the UK hip hop museum. So there's going to be a lot of pictures of us in there breakdancing from back in the day. Because we did a book as well. We did a few album covers for various bands. And yeah, there's a lot of film footage lurking about. So nice. I'll meet up with all these guys again from back in the day. You know, from the actual breakdancing days. So you're looking 80s, do you know what I mean? Early 80s.
That's crazy. I suppose you didn't throw in a couple of moves out mid-set, or...
I think I'll break my neck now. I had a little go of Andy Manston, which got documented, and that was hilarious. I had to go a head spin, and my body rotated, but my head didn't. I don't know if that was just gravity or I've lost the technique.
Because you're known for obviously the crazy stuff, which we're going to get to hopefully. But how did you move on from? Because obviously you went to Ibiza around 1990.
Yeah, no,
so
before 90.
Was it before 90?
Yeah,
was it 90? So
yeah.
How did that progress from, you know, following around some of the big DJs to playing in London to getting residence in London to then going? What made you go Ibiza? You know, what made you step up? Was you just kind of getting more gigs and you were getting busy and you thought, well, its progression is to go abroad? How did that work for you?
Well, it was weird. I went in the first time in the late 80s to Ibiza, not to DJ, just to go out and have a little look about. And I fell in love with the place. At that point, I was a resident DJ at the Crazy Club, so I'd done all their events, which was the Astoria. Did the Legends on a Friday and a Saturday for MFI and for Denzel's crew. We done the Limelight. So I was really, really busy in the UK. But I went the following summer with the Crazy Club, so that would have been 89, I think it would be. And we done an event in Pasha, me and Paul Trouble Anderson, with the Crazy Club. Yeah, I love Paul, he was a good man. Yeah, so we done that, and Matthew B was with us as well, which everyone knows is Bushwhacker now. He couldn't have been more older than 16, 17 then. I've got a funny story about him I could tell as well.
Yeah, we want to hear that.
So we went out there 89, and then I came back at the end of '89, I got offered a residency in Amnesia. So I finished off that summer, I think it was, in Amnesia, being the DJ there, resident DJ there, me and the DJ PP from Italy. And then when I come back to get the residency again, I thought I was going to get it again. I arrived in Ibiza the following May and was told that the owner had sold the club to another guy called Senor Martin, who had different visions. I went to meet him, got an introduction, and I don't think we were on the same page of what he was after. And fair play to him, he's done a great job with the place, but at that point I was more interested in, I don't know, being a bit more cultural rather than just throwing all the glitter at it, if you understand what I'm saying. So the owner, I went to dinner with the old owner of Amnesia, and he said, well, what do you want to do? I said, I'd love to get into Space. Space had just opened, 88, I think it was August 88, and its first season was 89, and we was in there quite a lot for a number of different reasons. And yeah, we had a lot of fun in there. So he gave me an introduction to Pepe. We got out like a house on fire. He liked the work that I did and offered me the job at Space. But the idea for me to go to Ibiza was a lot different from a lot of the other guys. Other people have been there, obviously Rampling, Nicky Holloway, your Paul Oakenfold, and they all went there with an idea of taking something away from the island, whereas I thought I could add to what was going on over there, which I think I'd done in quite a big way, to be fair, because there wasn't a lot of Brits there. So you could primarily blame myself and Brandon for the mass influx of British people. It was mainly Dutch, French, German. There's a sprinkling of English people, normally wealthy English hedonistic people out there, but there wasn't all the ravers, and it wasn't like you know it now. It's a different kettle of fish altogether.
Because you know, because when you go abroad and you do them seasons, as much as people think it is fun, and of course it's fun, but it's heavy duty. You know, like it's every night, and it's like you say, you know, you've gone to the club, you thought you'd be a resident there, and then you find out actually we're going in different directions, and you're like, okay, what am I going to do? And it's like finding your feet. And I think when you picked up resident, you was just you and two Spanish DJs, wasn't it? Yeah, when you started the Space, so you was really an outsider, wasn't you?
Yeah.
So, and obviously you was there before Brandon come along.
Yeah.
So
I brought Brandon out there. Yeah, because then make the phone call.
So the terrace was, and I want to know about the Bushwhacker story as well. So the terrace, was that like a smoking area, and you decided to turn it? You said, look, why don't we put some decks out here? And
well, basically, when I came back to Ibiza for the job in Amnesia, I came out with James Mitchell, who was one of the guys that originally started Sunrise.
He's a promoter.
Yeah, him and Tony Colsnate were their best mates, and obviously Dave Roberts was involved. There's the three of them. And they put on the biggest events in the UK, but he just broke up with his girlfriend. So he wanted to come away with me. And
perfect time, innit, when he started misses to go to Ibiza for the season.
Yeah. So, he fancied the summer out there. And basically, I landed the job at Space, and we were sitting out on the terrace. And it's a bit hard to get your head around this when I first get told it. All the bars in the club, I mean, people also don't understand, Ibiza has had clubs for when we were going back in the 90s, it's 40, 50 years. So you can add another 20, 30 years onto that. Their clubs have been going since the 30s and the 40s. So their culture, club cultures, was far more advanced than ours. And we have caught up in many different ways. But how they made their clubs function and what was, they used to rent out each individual bar within a club. The bar owners, it'd be their owners to get people in, and they would buy the stock through the club. So the club was on a double win-win. And they also knew they'd get people in there because people wanted to sell drinks, obviously, to make their money. So they're all different entities within a club. So I knew this from Amnesia, which had the same philosophy. They all do. All the clubs have got it. So we was just sitting outside on the terrace, just chatting about how lucky I was to land this job. I goes, James, what do you fancy doing next year? He goes, for the year, a bit of work and that. And he's going, I don't know. I goes, why don't we get a bar in here? Get one of the bars inside. And Pepe came out, sat down next to us and said, have you got any bars left? He goes, you left it too late. These bars go like a year in advance. And we were sitting there going, oh, God. So I just went to Pepe, what happens to this space out here? And he said, well, that's a cloakroom. And he goes, people just come out here for a cigarette, for sometimes a coffee, cappuccino, and sit down outside. I goes to James, do you want to have a go at doing something out here? And he goes, well, what are you thinking? I goes, well, inside was mental techno music. And we were used to back home, like funky house and all this kind of stuff. So we gave it the terminology at the first. Inside was hell, and outside was going to be heaven. And the actual first name of the terrace when we came up with the idea was the Full Moon Terrace. And obviously it wasn't covered or anything. And it was the first year was really, really hard. There was no one there hardly. I had like a small following group of a lot of the weird and wonderful from Ibiza town, because once they heard I was there and they knew Pepe, because Pepe started a lot of the clubs off as well before Space. I had a little following. It was it was hard work. There was no one there. And after the first year, James said, listen, this is a bit much for me. I'm just going to duck out. But I knew I could make it work. So I got my head down, and before I knew it, it just started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it is what it is today now.
Because you spoke about that, your background is an eclectic mix. It's not just like, you're not just one style. So I get which Space was kind of that, wasn't it? It kind of evolved into playing anything what works, and it's like you say, you got the hard stuff inside, so outside the kind of nicer stuff, like the vocally stuff.
We played everything outside. Anything and everything.
Yeah.
We played the Rolling Stones, Sympathy for the Devil, Electro. We went in and out, and it was just a lot of fun, because it was like a musical journey. The last couple of hours had been all the up to front house going at that time. But, we sort of like meandered and got there slowly, dropping in. I remember we used to drop things like Phil Collins, In the Air Tonight.
Yeah.
Or stuff like that right in the middle of a set, and people just responded really, really well to it. It just, I don't know, it became a new part of clubbing culture as well, because it opened at 6 a.m. Space opened at 6 a.m. and it was like one of the first clubs in the world to, get notoriety for starting that late in the morning. Morning.
Yeah. So, I want to hear the story about Bushwhacker, and then I want you to tell me about how you met Brandon and how Brandon got out there and how it evolved, obviously, that.
Well, Bushwhacker's a great story. He used to come to Haven Stables a lot back in the day, and I used to play a couple of clubs for him for Sunrise, and that when they done the clubs, not just the big warehouse parties.
He was at the end as well, weren't he?
Yeah. That was much later. So I'm talking about when I first met him, when he first came on the scene. So anyway, we got chatting at Haven Stables, which is where, incidentally, I first sort of like kicked off with Brandon, which is a club in West London. And he goes, listen, Al, why don't you come back tomorrow, we'll play some tunes. And I was like, yeah, wicked. So we took my record case around there. We were both on the bumbles, enjoying life. And we're playing this music quite loud, and I'm having a laugh and a joke with him. And all of a sudden there's a knock on the door, and this fella's come in, and he looked just like one of your typical old school teachers, round glasses on, like a dressing gown on, and like slippers on and all the rest of it, and said, Matthew, would you mind turning the music down a little bit? Me and your mother are finding it a bit difficult to get to sleep. I looked at him and I was like, Matt, you didn't tell me you lived at home with your mum and dad. And that was the time I found out he was only 16 as well.
No way.
Yeah. So he goes, yeah, I'm only 16. I was like, oh, man. I think he might have been not 16. Yeah, he was coming up 16. So that was quite funny as well.
Especially when you're off your nut as well.
Yeah. We didn't feel too clever about it.
Because I suppose as well, around that era, at night, obviously that's when pills and stuff were introduced into our, is that the year it come into Ibiza, and obviously that changed everything.
Yeah, massively so. It changed our whole culture. It brought everyone together.
Yeah, people that were fighting become friends.
Yeah, it just made the whole clubbing experience a new level. But what it did is it kind of like extended your euphoria, so you wanted to keep on going out. So what happened then is, you had like your Space starting at 6 a.m, then you had warehouse parties going on, starting at 2 a.m, and going till 8 or whatever, following on from the clubs. Because like I said, a lot of the clubs couldn't get late licences. Most of the clubs we went to. So it started off just going back to people's houses and garages, and then people were kicking the doors off warehouses and setting up in there, and it grew and it grew and it grew. And but it's a massive part of the culture of ecstasy was back in the day.
So was you away when the kind of the illegal rave stuff was happening over here more, with the kind of M25 stuff? Was you here? Was you involved in that as well?
Yeah,
was you away a bit more?
I worked for Sunrise as well.
Yeah.
I had a few different roles for him. I used to do a bit of DJing for him. I remember I used to collect money for Dave Roberts as well, which is hilarious. So I was going and getting all the ticket money, which normally had a couple of other bits of money to pick up from other professions that were going on at the time in and around the industry. I worked quite close with those guys. And like you say, I decided to make the leap to Ibiza, when my DJing was right at a high in the UK, and it was spreading out. But on another flip side of the coin, I got to meet people like DJ Dag, Mark Spoon, Sven Vath.
Yeah.
I was hanging out with them. And because I was also playing techno inside, that gave me, and Cosmic Baby was another one, that gave me a little jump up into their world. So I used to hang out around with the Frankfurt lot. And they used to take me over to play in Germany. I played Dorian Gray. I played loads of the best clubs you could have ever played in Germany, and playing techno as well. And I'll come back and do like the funky house or whatever, because, yeah, like you said earlier, the spectrum of music I'm into is just absolutely massive. I think that comes through sometimes with the tunes that I've made as well.
Yeah, and it kind of goes on to, obviously, Brandon aside, because we all love Brandon, we know he's amazing, but what other DJs have you worked with, and about putting, what, like, or what nights or what countries, like, where have you worked where you were like, bloody hell, like, what ones have really been memorable for you, like places around that era or later on?
Oh, God, there's so many of them. I mean, all the places I've done in Germany were fun. Just to be hooked up with that crew, they were the leading pioneers. They set up Logic Records, they had Frankfurt Beats, they had everything going on. This is before, I think, Cocoon came about for Sven Vath. It was all prior to that. And they were a great bunch of people as well. So all the German lot, I had so much fun with all of them. I was resident in a club in Switzerland called Tarot as well, and that was quite harder techno. And there were some great DJs there that were coming through. A lot of the mainstream DJs, always a joy to play with all of them, you know what I mean? It always is. And, there's so many good ones out there. You know what I mean? It's no one can sort of like just say he was brilliant.
Yeah.
A lot of DJs do it for me, but, it's just preference, musical preference at the time,
I find as well, it's more like people that you work with closely, people probably wouldn't know, and you go, "Cool, what DJ is?" People don't, what I mean, like the kind of the resident DJs, and more than often some of the big names, that you play with, and you see them, you with them regularly, and you're like, wow.
Oh yeah. Well, one of the ones for me that was quite an opener was Master Pasha, Danny Swallow. When I first came across him DJing, he was so technically advanced for someone of his age, and his musical knowledge was just like, brilliant. I'll tell you, it blew me away. Danny did. He still does now, to be fair.
So it's funny because a lot of DJs are going back to vinyl. Is that, do you play much vinyl still? Or?
No. It's, sure. Last time I played vinyl, Rooney caught me out with it live on air. He got me to come and do a double up on his show. And when I got there, the CDJs weren't set up. It was only the two turntables. And he goes, "Where's your vinyl?" I goes, "I didn't bring vinyl." He goes, "You'll have to use mine," which is even harder if you play with vinyl.
Yeah.
To know someone else's vinyl, it's just so difficult. But I quickly went through, pulled out about 15 tunes that I knew. So I didn't want to be sorting through, so I done it all in one. Kind of like got an idea in the running order of them in my head. But when I went to the decks, mate, it was like all my fingers had become thumbs. I knocked the stylus, I couldn't pick it up, it's just really fine tuning. People just never played vinyl. It's another world, it's not just pressing a button up and down. And it just brought back so memories. But during the show, Rooney was giving me high fives and everything like that. I managed to pull it out of the bag. But when I listened back, it did sound good. But at the time, my cranium was under so much pressure. I thought my skull was going to crush at one point. So I was concentrating so hard. It's like another world, but I did enjoy it. But for me, vinyl's done. I think most of the problems with my knees and my back are from carrying vinyl through warehouses, jumping off stages and whatever. You got 2 30-kilo, 40-kilo boxes in your hand and some on a rucksack on your back. Because if you're doing 2 or 3 events in a night, you probably require different music. You'll be playing different time sets. So it's kind of more of a running order of set times back in the day.
Yeah, it's like I played a little while ago, and I probably haven't played vinyl out about 15 years, and like the concentration, I kept trying to queue up the deck as well, because obviously, so I'm doing that, and obviously you're not queuing up, but and it is, and the concentration, it's different. It's like a bike, like riding a bike, you never forget, but you always need to keep your eye, and it's completely, and it is nice, and I was like, oh, that feel, and it is different. But like you say with the vinyl, like, so if I was in the West End, I'd have a trolley and all that, but you'd only have like 80, maybe 100 tunes in this. You'd be really limited, and you'd have to, like you say, your tunes. Like maybe it wouldn't be in the sleeve, but you know what it is. Do you know what I mean? Oh, that's that tune because that's in that because I lost the sleeve, broke it, and that's that. So you know where you're at. Do you know what I mean? So you're already like, okay, bang, 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 bang. So yeah, it is a different era, and as well, travelling abroad is a bloody nightmare, isn't it? With vinyl,
you didn't know if it's going to come through half the time.
I went when I'd done the first season away. I got there. my vinyl didn't turn up. And I was like, and that's
common.
your world, right? It's your world that ain't turning on. I'm like, this is like the worst thing that could ever happen. And I ended up, you know, you spoke that I ended up getting a residency and staying and all that sort of stuff. But it was horrific because my babies were gone. Do you know what I mean? And it was such a, you know, different era now. And we're going to talk a bit more about today and music and stuff like that. But
well, going back to the records quickly, going back to the records, that each kind of record had an identity and a character almost, because you knew you could spot it like you spot it, but you also know where the scratches are on it and
you
what bits to avoid.
You pretend that when it scratched that you didn't know it was going to be. You think, oh, I love that song, it's going to jump then, and then you go, wow, I can't believe that's happened. But you know it because it happens every time, and then everyone's like, and you just carry on. And
also going back to records going missing, I think it was '89 when we come over for the Amnesia gig. I flew over with Fat Tony, and back in the day, I don't know if you remember this, Ross, but the early record cases were made of cardboard.
Yeah.
And you used to split it in half, and it'd be like almost two triangle-shaped bits, and you put that next to it, and you split the records in half, so you could thumb through them quite. It was a genius idea, but the problem was the cases were so weak, it was unbelievable, and the handles would come off sometimes as you went to pick it up, or, you know, a corner would fall off. They weren't the best build. So anyway, we've flown to Ibiza, myself and Tony, and I just got one of those new Perspex books. I don't know if you remember when they came out.
Yeah.
And everyone was all over them. And when I come through the original airport with Tony, he goes, ooh, what have you got there, darling? Giving it all that kind of thing to me. And I'm going, it's new, man, look. He's going, no, it's a bit heavy, you know, because he had the cardboard one. Mine was never going to be as good, but I know
he was only jealous, wasn't he?
Yeah. And I love Tony a bit. So we got the flight over. We were both a bit worse for wear because we'd been out the night before or whatever. So anyway, we're taking a little bit of time. And another thing was you always had to wait for the records to come through for some reason. They never came through first, did they? So anyway, we've landed in a torrentially downpouring Ibiza. And as you're probably well aware, sometimes the Ibiza people that work in the airport ain't the quickest workers. So your luggage could be out for a little while in the rain. So anyway, we're waiting. The luggage has come through and it's quite damp anyway. My Perspex box has come through covered in water, but not a problem, just a little wipe off. And then we're waiting there, folded arms, for Tony to come through. And by this time, we're the last two people in the airport pretty much, because it was a very small airport. And you can see them through the background. It's just these flaps of where they push the cases through. And all of a sudden, one record came through, right? Then another record came through. Then 5 records came through. Then half a mangled bit of cardboard came through. And when the mangled cardboard came through, I looked at Tony, all smug about my Perspex box. And this is no word of a lie. He started crying. I felt so bad for him. I had to give him a cuddle. And I'll never forget that day. He had a pink polka dot shirt on as well. All tear stains down the front of it. Tony, if you listen to this, I hope it's a funny memory for you. It was for me, mate. That was one of our hazards. You know, you never knew you were going to get your records or they're going to get passed or whatever. Yeah,
it was carnage. I remember we done you know, Ricky from the Dog and Whistle.
Yeah,
so obviously we've been friends for a long time. So we used to do the Brit Awards. So we done the after party. So I remember back in the day, we didn't get taxis, the dodgy taxis. Remember you come out?
Yeah.
So you get in and they say, where do you live? And we used to say, we're just past Enfield, even though we're quite way past Enfield. So we jumped in his cab, obviously on a messy one, me, Ricky and my pal. We've got out at the other end and the cab driver's driven off and I've realised I've just gone, my vinyl's in the boot.
No.
My vinyl's in the boot. And I'm like, and I froze and it's like, that's your life.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was the worst, one of the worst thing that could ever. And I was just like that because obviously no one knows it. You don't know who the cab driver is. You know what I mean? You've jumped in this guy who's not a cab driver. He's driven away from London. We're off our nut. We've been on whatever else. So Ricky, and if you listen, he knows I'm for life on this one. He is running the house. He's got his car keys. He jumped in his car and he's driven. I'm not joking. You know, like, I'm like that. And he's gone in the house, got the keys, jumped in the car, straight down the road.
And caught up with him.
Caught up with him.
No way.
Caught up with him.
Damn.
Come back, and then I'm like, because how would you ever get them? You're never going to get them back. It was before eBay, and it was just, and I was just like, oh my God. I'm like, Ricky, I owe you forever. But you know, and you just, but it's just a different era. Do you know what I mean? You know, you throw them in the back of the boot, and you know these, and I was just like, I never would have seen them again. And it would have just been...
Well, also, a lot of them are gold dust as well. I remember...
Get them, yeah.
Well, I was privileged because obviously I worked on KISS Radio back in the day as well. I used to get sent hundreds of promos every day, and some of them, you know, are probably worth a fortune now. But back in the day, people just couldn't get their hands on the vinyl. You know, you had a limited amount of imports come in, All the shops had their favourite jocks, which you had to worm your way into.
Yep.
So you had a packet of records to listen to. Obviously, you used to buy some that we weren't too sure of, but that kept the record shop happy, and that kept you in favour. And all the record shops in London, I had that privilege.
Where did you shop? Where was your favourites?
Well, all of them. God, what was it? Back in the day, you had Groove Records. You had Groove Records, and you had the one just up the road from that, the Italian one. And then we had Black Market, obviously.
Black Market, yeah, iconic.
Then we had Jazzy M's shop. What was his shop called?
You had Unity around the corner, Uptown.
Yeah, Unity Uptown.
Yeah, City Sounds with Dave.
City Sounds as well, yeah.
You need that one,
Yeah. He was good at selling records, man. He sold me a load of rubbish.
Do you know what he used to do? He would go, I'd give him back some and he'd go, do you know what, you need that? And I'd get back and it would be the one that actually was the best one.
Yeah.
So he would sell you.
But he's also cleverly played the best bit of the track, wouldn't he? So you just get to hear the best bit of it. And you go, yeah, I'd have that.
Do you know what he used
then
to
when you
do?
hear the rest of it, you thought, oh, what I bought that for?
I know some used to work there. They'd lean up, if you come in and like you were saying, so if you had that, if you knew him, you were fine. If Dave comes in from down the road, they'd lean under the counter, they'd pull out a red card, they'd red card the guy at the back, they'd go out the back and they'd get all the old
Rubbish.
stock and go, there you go, Dave, I've got this little selection, perfect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're just they're
But
ruthless.
it's business, isn't it?
But it was
Don't
good.
make money.
It was good times. And so I was going to ask you about promos and stuff because obviously you get sent so much and like. How do you work through that, even with the vinyl, and even now with the music you get sent now? Because I spoke to Grant Nelson about this, and I said, "How do you?" He said he just goes through track tools, finds the ones he likes, goes on his email, googles and just downloads them.
Yeah.
But because he gets sent so much stuff.
Yeah, well, I get sent loads of stuff, but I do dedicate a big chunk of my week to listening to a lot of it.
Yeah, good.
Even like young up and coming jocks, they find me through my DJ Alex P webpage. And they'll send me an info at Alex P. Alex, hope this reaches you. Do you have a listen? I always send them a message back and go, look, it's not quite a finished article, or you're onto something there.
Nice.
And I goes, I'll drop that one on my show on Centerforce or whatever. And I made some good friends out of that. And a lot of them later on down the line have started producing some really good stuff. I mean, even back in the day, Low Stepper, when I used to do his first club nights, and he used to make sure I got all of his promos back in the day.
I like Low Stepper.
Yeah. And he's changed so much now. I mean, he was like a really underground electro-style producer back in the day. And he spread his wings, listen to different music. I think the more you listen to, in a weird way, the broader your knowledge comes of music and what works and what doesn't work.
Because, it's funny you say that because it's a funny industry and people are funny and you're very approachable, and you've always been that way. And like you say, you message people, but not everyone's like that. Not a lot of people aren't like that. Like, why is that? Like, people they're very funny and they won't, do you know another day? I don't know any other DJs are any good. Do you know what I mean? Why are we in the industry where people don't help each other? It should be the other way around. We should be helping each other. The new guy, like pointing out, like, oh, that's good or that's not good. Like, why is it like that? Do you just?
I think it's because you have to, in a way, become Teflon coated and believe that you are the best at what you do, because otherwise you're not going to succeed. But for me, I won't have people talking down to me or belittling me or, just making me feel unsettled. It's not a nice feeling. So I don't want to do that to other people if you get my point of view. So I do go out of my way, not through trying. It's just natural for me to sort of like make people feel happy or, take a bit of time, have a photo done, whatever.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't like someone showing me a cold shoulder and walking off. It's a butterfly effect, isn't it? You can ruin their day from now. They'll end up running over someone or stealing something or something doom and gloom. And I don't want to be responsible for that.
But it's is that probably why you and Alex get on, your branding get on so well, because you are so similar? Because you meet, you put, I don't know about it, but you meet, especially these DJs, and you put them and you meet them and you're like, God, wasn't what I expected, and you're like, and it's really killed you, and you've met someone else, like, you and Brandon, you so like, like Brandon will send me music and I'll send him stuff quite a lot, and and that's again, I'm always like sharing, what about it? Oh, do you like this or that? And it's just nice to help each other. Yeah. So do you think that's why you and Brandon hit it off? And we haven't even really touched on Brandon stuff. So God. Tell us about Brandon.
Brandon's a phenomenon.
Phenomenal.
To himself. He's unbelievable. And when I first come across him, I kind of fell in love with him because
how can you not?
He's just out there. Do you know what I mean? But like you say, even though we look like chalk and cheese, we're similar on so many different things. And I learned so much from him about music, and I know he learned a lot from me about more like the technical side and all this. So he polished all that side of his thing. So it was like a match made in heaven. But the first time I met him, I'd seen him out and about a couple of times, but not really sort of introduced or whatever. I got invited to play Haven Stable, which is a club I told you before. I met Bushwhacker, and then I went on, believe it or not, after Groove Rider, who was playing house back in those days. So Groove, he's just technically brilliant, and his music choice was just off the scale. You know, it wasn't kind of like a warm-up set. It was decent, funky techno sounds that he used to play back in those days. So when I went up to the decks, I thought, my God, I've got to lift my game here. He's played bang on now.
That's good though when it's like that, because you do, not that you don't always want to play well, but I like it because I'm like, cool, right, bring it.
Yeah,
you know, like,
and I thought I've got to step up to the mark here, so I had the plan in my head to follow on from him and switch it up a little bit, because I know that Avon Stables Club was a bit more of a hands-in-the-air club rather than a techie underground club. So I kind of mixed it up, swerved it away from him, done some great mixes that I was proud of, and was like really into the groove, right? And coming to like the last 3 or 4 records of my tune, I looked to the left, and by the way, I've got a lot of my mates in there giving me a point, going, Pete, you was on point there, son, giving me the cod face nod, you know, like, yeah, cod face nod from all my pals. And then there's all this commotion going. I thought, must be a fight at the door or something. So I'm looking to the left, which is to the left of the DJ box where I'm still playing. And there's all these people coming through. There's this high-fiving going on, all these record cases above people's heads. And then Baggy, who's another character, unfortunately passed away.
Brandon's friend, yeah.
He was one of Brandon's best mates.
Yeah.
And we got on out like a house on fire as well. But he brought the first record through, plunked it down, and done some mad symbol with his fingers that I can't even do today myself. It was like he disjointed his index finger and made like this mad kind of like shape in the air, and looked at me cross-eyed, and I was like, well, not too sure what that is, but I'll nod back at him like you did back in those days, do you know what I mean? Then the next thing, Brandon stumbled down the stairs, right, fag in his hand that he's managed to knock the end off it as he's come through the DJ box. So I thought, all right, here we go, these lot, they've been partying hard, these lot. So anyway, he's come in, he's bigged his chest up, I've gone, all right, Alex P, put my hand out, shook it. He went, all right, Brandon Block. And I thought he was going to shake my hand again. And at that point, he pulled out a rap and chucked it on the record that was playing. I loaded Devil's Dandruff onto the record. I thought, oh no, what's this nutcase doing? But that was pretty much my last record anyway. So I kind of like got rid of the Devil's Dandruff, as you do. And the record was playing out. And by this time, you have to understand, there was a real groove going on in the club. It was like pulsating. Brandon was on fire. He come in, looked at me as if to say, yeah, I'm here now, mate. And I thought, you better get another record now, mate. You've only got about a minute and a half left of that one to play, and I ain't putting on another one now. It's all down to you. So I gave him the old glare, like, yeah, you're next up, son. And he just smiled back at me, nodding as if to say, yep, I've got this one covered, Pease. And I'm thinking, he ain't going to make the music in time. So anyway, he's fumbled around in his record case, and he's pulled out this I'll probably put this as one of my favourite records, because you were saying earlier, you know, what's got amazing memories. And anyway, so he's put this record on, he ain't queued it up, and it's like 15 seconds of my record to go. So anyway, it's gone off the thing, and the record's gone, which is the sound that DJs hated back in that day. You know, you let your record play out. So anyway, the crowd had gone quiet, and they're all looking up to say, what's happening? They're looking at me first. So I've diverted all their looks to Brandon. He's just put his hand up and then gone, way, as if to say, I'm here. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy's just nuts. So anyway, then you can hear the stylus going, and he's put it on the start of the record, and it's gone, din, 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 din. Din, 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 din. Now that we found love, what are we gonna do? And the next thing, right, the whole place has just erupted into this euphoria. And he just nodded to me and say, yep, that's how you do it, brother. And then I watched the rest of his set, and to be honest with you, the mixing was absolutely not that good. And I'm not going to say bad to Brandon, because I'm not saying nothing bad about Brandon, but he didn't go back that far. And he's great at mixing now, don't get me wrong. He really did up his game, and I think he's a brilliant DJ now all round. But, you know, back in then, it was all about the sounds for Brandon, and that taught me a lot, because what happened, I got caught in a bit of a spiral of trying to make records fit together and put them together like a jigsaw puzzle. But he just totally blew that out of the water, which in turn, you know, could put me on that path that when Space originated, and that leads to the point that I knew there was only one other person I could call in to do that job with me. Once Space grew in the first year, it done nothing. Second year, it was absolutely amazing. you know, and I was there every day in, day out. I was asleep in the club. I mean, that's another thing you got to give up. You know, if you want to get to be one of the best at something or be reasonably good at something, which I'd say to my kids,
be obsessed with it.
You've got to be obsessed with it, and you've got to give up everything. And like I said, I slept in the club. I didn't see my house sometimes for a couple of days. I had a shower in the club. I'd sleep on the chair out the back because the Space Terrace used to open at 9 o'clock at night, and it was set up for like all the Germans and the Dutch to come in, all in there. They used to wear some funny clothes back in their days, you know what I mean? Like silk trousers and silk cravats and all that. They looked like they should have been in ABBA, do you know what I mean, most of them. And they'd come out and they'd frequent the place. Well, they were big spenders back in the day. So I had to cater for them. And that would be another genre of music. And I should try and find out what the big tracks were back in Germany or Holland, the cheesy ones. You know, the cheesy one. We didn't have the access to stuff we had now.
That's what I'm saying. With vinyl as well, I remember when you're getting people send stuff over, and it's not like, yeah, it's such a different world.
Different world. And the good thing was Delta Records in Ibiza catered for that as well, because you had the Balearic sounds, you had this, that and the other. And I used to go and have a chat with them and say, look, I've got all these Dutch coming in, what's big in there? And they'd go, basically pull out the chart and go, that's a good dance one, that's a decent dance one. And he used to get them in. They were quite expensive because obviously import as well, a lot of them. But you had to do that. So I catered for the evenings like that. And then I'll go straight inside and there'll be three of us on rotation, which was myself, Richie and Giovanni. And R.I.P. Giovanni's passed away, unfortunately, but Richie's still on the scene. I still see him a lot. My Spanish was terrible. Their English was even worse.
Is it any better now?
Yeah, my Spanish is pretty good now. I had to learn it because I knew they were trying to rip me off in the office. So I thought, right, I'm going to learn this stuff. And I learned
When they're slagging you off in the office as
yeah,
well.
and I knew they was. But I didn't used to let on that I knew as much as I did a lot of the time because, you know, I didn't want to trip myself up. Yeah, so basically, getting back to the music side of stuff. So that helped out with me, with Brandon. And then once the club got so big, the hours were getting so long. And what happened with the terrace? The terrace used to open
You were doing
at
like
6.
12-hour sets, weren't
Yeah.
you?
It opened at 6, and then originally they dwindled off 11 o'clock, something like that. So still 5 hours, 10, 11 o'clock, people go back. Then all of a sudden, people just started getting up later and coming to the Space Terrace at like 9 in the morning. So they wanted to party hard, and all of a sudden I found myself going from like 6 in the morning, originally to like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Then they got a few complaints from some of the hotels, so the start time got pushed back to 8 o'clock in the morning. And there was that horrible lull. I don't know. It wasn't horrible. It was at first. It was painful at first. Then after a while, when everyone come out from the inside the club to come outside, I couldn't put no music on. And there was people with trumpets, people with, like, I don't know, you name it, violins, making music and all the rest of it. And it was just mad, harmonicas, and it was just crazy. And then we'd come on and play the music, and everyone just go through the roof. But like I say, I'd then play from like 8 till maybe 8 at night again.
Because you've got the people that have gone right through. You've probably got people that have come at 8. So you've got all them different people in different, you know, something off their head for a couple of days. You know, so you're trying to cater for them and for the foreigner, you know, for different like nationalities of people.
Yeah, massively.
And so people just think, oh yeah, you just play a record with them on dance. If you play something they don't know, they often don't. They're like, what is this?
Yeah.
So you're thinking ahead as well. You're playing a tune thinking that's going to work, and you're playing a tune that they're going to like 2 months in time. So you're always second guessing, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah. You can cover yourself with that. You can. I used to arm myself with like about 4 or 5 like cherry picked definite winners.
Yeah.
And from different kind of styles of music as well. Mine might be a funky house, definite winner. Mine might be a tech house winner. Mine might be a trance house, definite winner. Mine might be a classic, you know, like a rock the Casbah or something like that. Depends what kind of like state mood you're in at that moment of time. And I was just have them in the back of my head, and there was a few of them that you just knew were going to win. Some with intros, you could drop them in at any time, and you could always fall back on them. But like you were saying, it takes a little bit of time for tune to grow. I remember Voodoo Ray came out, and I think it was 6 months later it got released, and it wasn't a big until like 8 months later, and everyone was playing it, but no one really knew what it was, and you couldn't get your hands on it. So, you know, that's an idea of a guideline, how long it took some tunes to come out after they were promoted.
Yeah, that was the thing as well, especially if someone had one that you wanted and you couldn't get hold of it. Like you said, it was limited press, especially being on another island. Like when you hear something, you're like, I need that tune. You know, and you just can't get hold of it.
Yeah. I used to stick labels on it or basically write F off.
Yeah. So no one knew what it was. Yeah, so people look over and you'd be like, oh, I don't know what it is. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But you knew what side it was because you had your writing on it. That was the side to play. So you were like in a dark club. But it's funny because you talk about you and Brandon. I watched a video of you, and I don't know whether it was a day party in Ibiza, and it was just, you know when you're in the moment and you're playing and everyone's going out, and I see it like there's you and as Brandon, and I always remember when I first saw Brandon, you're the same, like you've got this kind of aura on the decks, and I watched you too, and I think Brandon played everybody over the world, I looked at the crowd, everyone's going mad, and I was like, do you know what I mean? And you know when someone's video and it's in the moment, and their moment, like, is it different now? Because I look at them and like, because obviously you do all the clock stock stuff, and a lot of them people that would have been around that time or in that era, I look at it now and think, does that go on? Do people go mad like they used to in that video? Because you and Brandon, he was just, when you're in the moment, everyone's going mad, and you can play anything. There's that era, so it was like everybody over the world is playing, and all, like, I can play this, and that, and people, because you got the crowd and you know the age. Because I don't know about you, but like if I play a venue, I'll walk in and I'll look around to see who's in. I'll look at right, easy in and easy in, and that's how I get a gauge for it. So you're in the zone there, and I was thinking, does that happen now? Like, do you get that? I watch a Wild Corner, and I really like what they're doing there. Obviously, that's the old space, and you got Paul, you got all the resident DJs there, and Jason By and stuff like that. And I saw a video there the other day, and it was kind of similar. Do you know what I mean? Everyone was going mad and they were bouncing, but I thought, does that happen anymore now? Is it an age thing for us? Do you think? I don't see the youngsters. Is it just completely different?
It's a juggling act from behind the decks a lot more now.
Paul Reynolds, sorry, that's who I was on. Paul, and I think that they've got that space vibe in that corner where they play random stuff, they play, and a lot of the big DJs are played in there, and I think they're kind of trying to represent what space was about.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people would try and emulate that again now, and now's a good time to do it, because I think people are getting a little bit more open-minded as well with the music. To give you a rough idea, I've just been booked directly by one of my friend's daughters, and it's her 21st birthday in a couple of weeks' time. And I've got on the phone to her, I goes, look, I'm going to just come on and do some house music, or is there anything particular you want? She goes, no, I just want house and a lot of classics thrown in, please. And I said, right, we'll go for it. I goes, they would expect that, the kids, will they? They're going to be. She said, yeah, and don't call us kids.
That's funny.
Sounds like a slap in the face. Do as you're told. Yeah.
But I suppose it, like, you grow up a lot like what your parents like, what they play in the car and stuff. So they're probably growing up listening to house and history and that kind of stuff. So that's why they like that stuff. A lot of my friends' kids, they love all the stuff that you play. So you think, what they're like, I don't know, I like that stuff, and they know that all the the garage and stuff like that. But I just that video was really, I saw that, and I've seen loads of them like that, and I just thought, is it like that anymore? Or is it just that era that have now grown up, and the clock? I know clock stock's like that, but do you play?
Yeah, I play quite a lot of different venues. I did Brighton Beach the other day for Charlie, Vivid People.
Oh, yeah, he's doing really good. And he's, do you know what, as well, he's such a nice guy, Charlie. Yeah. I really got a lot of time. So he's doing really good stuff. And I see, and Brandon play, and I was like, I love it, because it's not pretentious. It's just like, everyone's singing along, and I thought, that's really...
It wasn't about the house either.
Yeah.
I played some hip-hop.
Yeah.
I played, all the couple of big disco tunes and all the rest of them. I really enjoyed myself.
Yeah.
I even played E.T. Boogie. Remember that old track, E.T.?
Yeah.
On home. People trying to body pop in front of me. I didn't leave it in for too long. I just thought I'd chuck that little bit in. It's just a good memory of that era.
But I think it's like, I think it's so refreshing when someone goes like off the, you're in a house night and someone just, I think it like, I wake them up a little bit. Do you know what I mean? And I think people are different. They think, you get one singing along and you play a couple, and I think it's waking everyone up. It's like about we're together, and I just think, and I look at that video, and I love that. I think it's that old feel of like, whereas if you look at a lot of the stuff now, it's so like everyone's just kind of digi and a bit ketted up, and there's just not that vibe. I don't think.
Well, obviously, you've hit nail on the head there. It's a different fuel that people are on now.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just like to video the memory, and I just don't get that, because you should live the memory, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people said to us, God, if you two was on social media like it is now, you'd be billionaires.
Yeah,
I mean, the things we got up to, you just, it can't be done. It's a good thing they're not documented in a way, because there's probably some serious gurning going on.
Actually, I was going to ask you a couple of things. I was going to ask you. So you played Back of Beyond Festival a couple of years ago, which is the Dog and Whistle. and you squirted a fire extinguisher at 2 DJs. Can you name them 2 DJs? No, you can't.
I can't remember who it was. It was up there now.
Brutal. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? Well, one of them was myself.
Oh, was it you? Ross. It had to be you, didn't it?
And Mr. Doris.
Oh, was it
So
you?
I suppose you know Doris from my Ibiza.
Yeah.
So
Brilliant.
So we.
It was only a little spray.
Yeah,
wasn't
it was just so funny. But like, that's not most normal DJs. They're so wooden, and they turn up and they've got their mates and they're all cool, and then I do artist liaison with a festival, and I'm standing there and Doris is playing, and then you just jumped out and you're like, and I was just like, it's so funny. I was really laughing my head off. But obviously you and Brandon are known as well. Obviously you're known, and without sounding, there's not many more iconic duos in Ibiza, and I don't think there ever will be than you, and known for the music, known for being, but there was the crazy stuff as well. I know you nicked a bus once, didn't you, as well?
Yeah.
I know we spoke about this before, but
I drove a bus from Ibiza town to San Antonio with Ibisenkos on it as well. And
other tourists went there as well.
No, there's maybe Ibisenkos, thank God. And that was one of the reasons that they couldn't nick me for it, because you had to be denunciation. They had to put your name up. And everyone goes, no, El Diablo. They call me the devil.
The devil, yeah.
But I had a big beard and long hair, and my pupils were so horrendously dilated.
You took a beating, didn't you, from the police?
I deserved it, to be fair. I did deserve it. But yeah, that's a funny story, that one is, man.
But he's a different era. What else, what other memorable, what other things, do you, I know there's so many, but what other things like that do you remember? Or what did Brandon do?
Some of the funny things, like you mentioned Brandon now, some of the funny things would be, as much as we loved each other, because we was in each other's pockets, there was a lot of friction sometimes.
Of course, yeah. You're like a married couple, ain't you?
Yeah, it had to be let out. And when it got let out, man, it was unbelievable. I remember one time we were having dinner.
Did you ever have a fight?
At Pikes. This is worse than a we we never come to blows ever, nothing like that. Never ever dream of it in it. I don't think he'd like to hit me either.
Yeah, I've only taken, mate.
Yeah, I've got a couple of moves that you don't know about. So anyway, we're in Pikes and we've had a bit of a fallout. It was something pathetic about who knows more about red wine than the other one. It got to that kind of rubbish. So anyway, we've had a big argument, and I've looked behind me and there's 2 rapiers hanging up on the wall. So anyway, I've jumped up, pulled the rapiers off, chucked one to him, and he's tore the cloth off the table, wrapped it round his neck like a cloak, and and he just ran off. I'm chasing him down the road at Pikes. He's got in a cab and gone to Mambo's, and I've got an arcade behind him and got to Mambo's. Bearing in mind now, he's got a cape on and all red wine stains around his mouth, and I've got red wine stains around him. We've both got rapiers in the car, so he's run off to Mambo's now, and he's called a commotion. He's got a circle around him, and he's seen me coming with my rapier, and he's drawn a line on the stone in front of us. So once I crossed the line, we went to battle. So anyway, I took my time going across the line. I'm getting cheers from all the crowd, and everyone's pushing me a little bit and all the rest of it. And I've jumped over the line, and quicker than I've jumped over the line, he's gone and put a big gash in my arm, my left arm. I was like, right, you bugger. And off we went, and we had this sword fight for about 20 minutes, standing on swashbuckling on tables. And I swear, when we come away, it was all covered in like little slashes with blood. And we had to go in the back of Mambo's with ice and, clean them all up. But that'd be the burst out, a burst out like that would happen. That completely out of the balloon. There's another one on my birthday. He went on a bender. I goes, don't go on a bender for my birthday. We're going out to dinner.
How many times did you have that conversation with him?
All the time. And he'd done it again, man. So I let everyone know that I weren't happy. And I let everyone know that, really not happy. So he's coming to meet me. We all had a meeting. We're going to meet at Eden for some reason. And Blocko was the last one to turn up. And on the way down, he popped into this trinket shop, wherever they were, them weird shops they have, and he's bought a broadsword. One of those ones that's normally like on the plaque on the wall, like something you see in Highlander, like the Kurgan had. Do you know what I mean? A massive broadsword with 2 spikes on the side. And he's walked down the long walk from, what's his name? This is kind of like the seafront down towards Eden with Es Paradis on your right. And he's dragging this broadsword behind him. You can see sparks coming off this thing. And because he thought I was going to give him a slap, so he stood there and he's really struggled to put this broadsword in front of him. And when he's put his hands around it, he's cut his hands, hasn't he? So I've run forward and gone, Brandon, you all right, mate? And he's gone, yeah, I'm all right. And it was just like one of those embarrassing moments, but it was great. That's the kind of thing that happened all the time with us. Bought a broadsword to have it with me. He couldn't even lifted it up. And when he cut his hands, I felt sorry for him.
How can you not love him with that?
Yeah, you got to love him. He's just insane.
And the thing is, when you're doing them seasons, that's like every night. There's like people ask you, well, stuff happens every night, and you just don't remember. Then someone reminds you, like it's crazy. But when it's like fueled with that kind of stuff, and
there's so many memories you forget, and people come up and remind you, and you're just like, no, I remember that now. But like you say, I mean, also we got to know so many people coming in and out there. Everyone's up for a party, so it's relentless the whole time,
Because you and like I run a charity day and Brandon plays, and I've been at, and it's like everyone's got memories of you guys from every part. Yeah. So you must do that thing where you pretend to know them.
100%.
So good to see you. And then, but everyone would say with you that they've always got stories. Oh, Brandon, I saw you here, I saw you there, and it's beautiful, to see. And I take Brandon to, we do on the trading floor. So it's a really big day, and they get some, so we're going in there, and it's really, because Brandon, you see, look, he loves it, his face, and it's nice because everyone's got a story. It's all nice stuff, like, oh, you done this, or you played there, or you played there, and it's just like, it's relentless. You must get that.
Yeah, I get it.
It's
all
lovely,
the time.
isn't it?
But even going back to when we done the break dancing and the hip hop and all that kind of stuff, I get people coming up, like in Brighton, there's some other fellas come up to me. He goes, Pete, can you still do the windmill? And I was like, what? Where's that come from? He goes, I remember you came down here, done a show here and there. And I went, wow, come back, took me back to took me to the 80s then, do you know what I mean? Early 80s. It's like, wow. And I used to love my skateboarding as well. So I went to the States skateboarding. And I met up with the original BMX crew as that was coming through. And there was a few guys from England that were really good. Craig Campbell, believe it or not, was one of them. He's a DJ as well. I don't know if you come across Craig. He was a very good DJ as well. And so when we talked about going to a place called Blue Death, trying to learn how to surf and breaking into people's back gardens and swimming pools and that in the States to go swimming skating, there's just so many memories. I'm blessed. I've got a head full of all of these memories. But sometimes they're a bit tricky to unlock and find them.
Yeah, years of partying. That's all right.
I know you wanted to do a selection of tunes. There's a whole load of tunes that's going in my head to wrap up with.
Or one, just what's the one?
But that one I've got, because it's such a great memory. Now that we found love, Third World.
Ah, right, yeah, we'll finish on that.
Yeah, you can finish on that. There's other tunes that got massive memories for me. But that just sums up me and Brandon's meeting.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, but if you get the original Third World.
Oh, Third World one.
Yeah. That's a Heavy D in the thingy, wasn't it? Is that Heavy D? That was...
Oh,
that's it, yeah. So you can imagine, that is not even a house track. So when you dropped it, I was like, what are you doing? But the whole place just went bonkers.
Like, Alex, I could literally talk to you all day, and I feel like you haven't even scratched the surface. There's like a million questions that I wanted to ask you. Like, what excites you about the future? What plans have you got? And then what advice would you give to anyone coming through? Like, what would you say? Because it's different now, isn't it? Social media and everyone's making tunes, and actually they're making tunes that ain't even their own tunes because someone's ghostwriting it. So it's completely different. Yeah. So it's digital and stuff like that. What is exciting you about the future, and what would you give advice to give to anyone who's listening?
Well, I'm excited about. I'm always excited about new music coming through. I spend a lot of time in the studio with Spillman as well. There's a lot of good events. It's going through another little change as well. But always when there's an economic dip in the UK, people tend to think, bollocks, I'm going to go and party. I can say bollocks, can't I? Because if not, I've said it twice now. You'd have to bleep that out.
Yeah. I don't know who will, but it doesn't matter.
I think it's one of those you get away with. And if you're looking back to the late 80s when the culture first came through, it was on the back of a recession, economic crash. And I think a lot of people are feeling that pinch now, and a lot of people are starting to go out and enjoy themselves, even the younger lot now. You can't get the mortgages, can't do this, can't do the other. I think, well, let's go and have a week in Ibiza. Yeah. So that's on that side. So the future's great. I've got a lot of good stuff coming up. Up and coming DJs, just be relentless. Any publicity is good publicity. Throw yourself out there. Just work hard, believe in what you do. And once you've got confidence in what you do, that normally will show through. And, that'll resonate you out there and make people buy into you.
I think as well, just be nice, innit?
Yeah.
I do a lot of the artist liaison and stuff, and I meet a lot of these DJs, and if they've done one track and they think they're like Calvin Harris or something, and I just think the longevity. You look at guys like you, the longevity of, you look at like the big defected DJs, so even someone like Sam Divine, she started flying.
Exactly.
She's always been in defected.
There's no shortcut.
No,
shortcut.
and they're just like they're not, you know, you meet, and I think sometimes I've met some of these like middle of the road DJs, and they're worse. They're like, and I just think, you know, be polite, be respectful. Don't think you're anything different, and just kind of be nice. You know, that we're all here to try to make. You know, we're all playing other people's music that you probably haven't made anyway. A lot of these DJs, you know, it's coming out now that, you know, most of them aren't even making their own music. So no one's special, you know, we're just out there trying, and it is different, you know. For us, it was more about the DJ, and now it's more about the producing. But hopefully it will come back where it's more about the DJs, because I hear so many horror stories. A friend of mine was telling me the other day, they booked someone and he dropped the first tune and it went off really well. And then and then it started dipping. So he's jumped in it. He's quite rude. He jumped in the DJ box. He said to the guy, he said, "Mate, what's going on with the music?" He went, "You got to change it." And he's like, "No." And he's like, "No, mate, no one's dancing." And he went, "It's a pre-mix." And he was like, "What?" And he was like, "Bang." He was like, "Get off. I want my money back." And it's like, you hear stuff like that. It is different, you know. And it's like, I just think about, it's like trying to be original.
Yeah. That's a big thing at the moment, that pre-mix thing. But, you know, I've had the conversation, I'm not going to mention any names, to actually send in a premix, and I just said no. But when they explained to me why they wanted it, it's because a lot of the big gigs now, they run in time with the pyrotechnics and all this kind of stuff. And I still think off-the-cuff gigs are better. But I suppose once you're doing 20,000 people above, it's got to run on time and perfectly. So that's why a lot of DJs are getting caught out. You know, sometimes, you know, a lot of them can DJ, and I've DJed with a lot of them that they are decent DJs as well, but they're just caught up in that cycle, which must be quite nice.
Yeah.
Just stand there and get paid 20 grand.
Yeah. Well, James Hype did it the other day, and he said, they wanted a pre-mix, and he was like, "Nah, I ain't doing it." And I was like, "Respect."
Probably 50% of his gigs are pre-mix, that's why.
Yeah.
But because he was on his home soil and he wanted to drop a few tunes that probably didn't fit in with what they was expecting on that tour, he jumped out of the groove. But that's just more proof of really what goes on.
Yeah.
You know, but that's a different kind of gig. You know, once you get to that amount of people, some of the people don't even know why they're there and why they're holding their camera up.
Or what he looks like. Yeah.
But, you know, you go to 800 people in Space Terrace that just there because they want to go bonkers.
Yeah.
That's when you feel euphoria.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
A lot of people are banning phones and stuff as well, which I really like as well. Or even just banning the use of them, like they're sticking stickers over the cameras and stuff like that, and it's like, let's get back to the old days of just enjoying themselves. And I think you find that with the older age. But Alex, I want to thank you so much for coming on. I know I drove you mad, and it's like I could sit and listen to you talk all day. Like there's like a million things that we haven't even touched base on, so you'd be nice to do a part 2 once it goes up and running. But I just want to say thanks so much for coming on, mate.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. I just want a big shout out to Brett as well, and Dan's. Thanks for helping us. This is the pilot. This is my pilot podcast. You know, I've been speaking to a radio station about doing it, and that's where the idea is behind it. I want to get in with a station, so who better to have on than Alex to do that? So big shout out to Alex, big shout out to Brandon as well. We love you, Brandon. Big shout out to Brett, and thanks everyone. Thanks for doing the first one. I appreciate it. Big love.
That's a pleasure, man.
Thanks, brother.
And in history now,
Thanks,
bro.
mate. The first one. Thank you.